Hey everyone, I'm Patrick Brown. This is part 2 of the Miles Morales tutorial. This is the final art, but I'll show you how to make this from scratch. In the last tutorial, I showed you how to go through the rough sketching stage, coming up with different pose options. So make sure you check out that video first if you want to see the beginning of this piece. Now it's time to jump into the inks, which is basically just black outlines if you're not sure. I actually think, inks are probably one of the most important things to do when creating a piece, because obviously it is, like I said, it holds everything together, it makes it bold and stand out. So here you can see I've just finished detailing the Miles pose that was chosen. I really want this composition to just flow and work really well. My buildings are also angled. The perspective is going to be pretty crazy and just like tilted to the side, so we also get the eye to flow through the picture. We're going to now do the ink. So I'm going to fade back the sketch layer. So I'm going to fade that right back down to about 24%. And then I've got a new layer above. I'll just call that outlines and we'll go from there. So I should explain a few things first. So I'm using Clip Studio Paint. This is one of my all-time favorite programs to use. Ever since I discovered it, it's just blown my mind. Because I used to use Photoshop for everything. And their line work is really kind of buggy to me. I just don't like doing lines in Photoshop. They come across really, jagged and So when I discovered this one though, this program, I'll show you, I'll give you a quick example. So I use the pen tool up here. Usually the mapping pen is really smooth. But look, like it's super, super smooth. And I find that the lag is very little, if not at all. Like I can go super quick and there's really no lag for me. So, okay, so let's begin. Basically, I'm just looking at my sketch and then I'm thinking about the line work at the same time. So I really want to get some parts super thin and then the thicker. You want to kind of add some finesse to it in a way. You want to make your lines really stand out. I love to add a little bit of those edges here. So this muscle in the forearm, I like that corner. So I really want to try and think of stuff like that, And another thing I'm thinking of when I'm doing my inks is shading. I'm kind of thinking about shading. So as this tricep comes down, I kind of want it to go darker as it gets into the armpit. So I really want it to be quite thick and bold as it gets down in there. But when it comes out into the open, around this edge here, I kind of want it to be really thin. And that's kind of just how I think about it when I'm doing it. Now, because Miles is a teenager and he's very young, I'm not going to be adding too much muscle. He's going to be a little bit smoother, just smoother, not as muscular and masculine. I really want to try and make him feel like a teenager. Might also add a little bit of that feathery kind of sketchy look that you might see in a lot of comic art. And if I want to add a little bit of that feathery style, I'm just going to be going a bit more like this. See what I mean? You see how I'm just kind of sketching that little thing through there. And like I said before, I want to get nice and dark lines around there, but as it comes around here in the open, I want it to kind of thin out a little bit more. So here we go again. I'm going to do that little feathery kind of look here. Just a few little strikes, nothing too much. Okay. And I like to flick on and off my inks sometimes just to see if I'm happy with that. And that'll help me understand, what I want to fix. So I really want to make sure I spend some good time on the eyes because that's obviously going to be the center focus point. And another little trick that I thought I would show you when doing inks is see the top of the head here for that curve. I can actually do a little strike anywhere in the white area, and then I'm going to make a selection and grab it and then do a free transform, and I can actually, I just think that comes out a lot smoother because one single strike rather than going through and like kind of making more of a jittery one because I was trying too hard, a lot of different strikes. So yeah, the one single swoop makes a really clean line, and then I'm just going to grab that line and adjust it. And I think that's a really, really cool way to make things like that quite smooth. Speeding it along a little bit more here so you can see all these inks coming together. And like I said before, I'm trying to think of, a little bit of a style to it. So I'm really maintaining that thick to thin kind of ratio, especially here with the shoulder. You can see it's a little bit darker down underneath where the shadows might be, and it gets a little thinner up where it's a bit lighter. And I'm going to use that technique right through. And there's just a cool little trick I want to show you. Sometimes your arm might be in the wrong position to get the right stroke. So it's really cool to use the rotation tool. Up here, you can have a look, that's the rotation tool. And what that'll do is that'll literally turn your entire page like you're actually holding a piece of paper and you're turning it, so that you can get that nice motion in your hand, and it's a little bit more natural, and you're just turning the whole canvas around. And I just really like that. It's really good and helps me a lot when I'm trying to get just that right stroke and it's just in that wrong angle. So yeah, it's a nice little trick there. I just want to show you how I do the webbing on his suit. So I'm doing single strikes, and I like to zoom out a bit so the strokes are nice and smooth. But you can see I've duplicated that layer. So I'm actually just doubling it because it's going to be a bit more beveled, because obviously this webbing is going to be a red color. So I'm not just going to do single black strokes like Spider-Man, the classic Spider-Man suit has. This one's going to have a feel of red, like the fill color. So, and then I'm going through and I'm doing the same for the circular ones that go around, connecting all the webbing. And then you'll see I'll duplicate it as well. And then I'm just adjusting that duplicated layer until it feels about right. And that's kind of how I'm doing it. It's little tricks like that to kind of speed things along. And it's a little bit neater rather than doing every little bit separately. I just think it's a little bit neater and more perfect in a way. And I'm doing the exact same with the suit down here around his chest. So if you just have a look at this, you'll see I'm about to duplicate it, and then I'll just copy that single stroke and turn it into two, and then I'll just move it to the side of each other a little bit and keep adjusting until I'm happy. And that just saves a lot of time, and it's perfect. They're perfectly parallel. And then I'm going to come through and start doing the connecting webs around here. Okay, so this is where I'm at so far. I've just done all the outlines that I can think of now. I'm pretty happy with that. But I just wanted to try one more thing. Technically it's shading, but you can also class as inking as well. So, but I'm going to make a new layer underneath. I'm just going to call it Dark Shadows. Anyway, but what I want to do is, because Miles' suit is going to be very black, I want to bring out like some solid black, really thick lines. I'll show you what I mean. So if we just go, say, near the leg down here. So what I'll do is literally, I'm gonna just fill it in with some really big chunks of black. I need to try and be a bit more bold here, I think. Best part about this being on a new layer is I don't have to use it. I'm not ruining my outlines at all. I'm just kind of adding this extra kind of effect. So it should be pretty good in the end, hopefully. So we'll just see how we go. And this will just really give it that kind of comic style, because I want it to feel like a comic cover. So literally under his belly here, it'd be almost full solid. So I'm not even gonna hesitate. I'm just gonna fill all this out around the ab area. So I'm just gonna keep filling it out a little bit more, and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, but what I want to do now is, now that I've laid them out, I'm going to start keeping some edges clear. So keep those black dark parts inside of the suit. So, and if I just hide that and then show it again, I can just quickly bring back some of these suit details, like around the arm here, because that's going to be more beveled. So you'll see that edge right there, and then it'll go dark, and then it'll see this edge here again, and stuff like that. So I'm just going to keep going through, and probably a little bit more of the foot there. We don't want that to be completely covered, and especially under the leg here, I'm going to have some under lighting, so from the city. So it's not going to be completely dark around there. It'll just go a bit more like, you know, something like this. It'll be a bit more, a few streaks. As you can see, as I'm deleting, like I'm just erasing these parts of the black, it's kind of showing a little bit more of a highlight under the leg there. I definitely want to show a bit more of a highlight on this side too. If I wanted to, when I'm doing the shading and coloring and that, I can actually just fade this a bit more and still use it. It's just going to be a little bit more faded. But we'll see how we go eventually. And yeah, that's it for now for the inking process. It is now complete. So I'm just going to show you, I'll just tone that right down, and I'll just put the sketch back up a little bit so you can see what's happening. But yeah, there we go. So it's a bit too far out there. So that's it so far. Thank you for watching for the inking tutorial. I hope you've learned a lot on this one. Definitely an important part of the entire process.
So there's still plenty to go through. We're going to do the city backdrop. In the next tutorial, we're going to do the full coloring process on Miles here, and I'll show you how to do that. So I'll see you next week, and thanks for watching.